Hello everyone, I'm Matt Cutter with Cutter & Cutter Fine Art, and I wanted to come back and sort of do a recap of the show that we just had this past weekend with Dean Mitchell. To start off, it was a very successful show. I believe we sold over 17 paintings from Dean, and we wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to Dean for all the hard work that he put in. These shows are not easy to do, and he came up with an incredible body of work, really treated the collectors very well with his time. And I also want to thank you, the collectors, because none of this is possible without your participation. And my dad Len said it on the quote-unquote microphone on Friday that it really does take that relationship between the artist, the dealer, and the collector. So we want to thank you so much for being patrons of Cutter & Cutter and of Dean Mitchell's work. So one of the questions that came up several times during the night was, why does Dean's acrylic work and his watercolor work look so different? And we thought that's a great question, and this gives us a nice opportunity to maybe answer some of those questions. So first off, with Dean's watercolor work, which he's so well known for, I would call it a very traditional representational style. When you get back from the work, it has a great sense of reality, likeness to nature. The colors and the transparent washes, I would say, are very soothing, and that creates a very unique look. Now, with the acrylic work, he's doing something very different, and he's working more somewhat abstractly. He's focusing on big shapes like he does with the watercolor work, but they're a little bit more graphic, and so that carries a different weight. So there's a different spatial relationship that takes place when you're working, or when he's working with those acrylics. A lot of big open space. You'll see some examples over my shoulder. Here's a great example of the space of the sky, even the ground plane, contrasted against the silos, the farm buildings. And so what also makes it graphic is the starkness that he's able to get in acrylic. And this comes down to a technical reason. So watercolor is a transparent medium. That means light will literally pass through the medium, hit the paper, and reflect back. Now that can be done with acrylic as well, because you can use it as a transparent medium, but generally Dean is using it more opaquely. And so what happens with opaque medium, the light will hit the medium, the paint, and it'll actually refract and reflect back into your eyes. So when you have a thick textured stroke and light hits it, that's more prone to bouncing back to you, so it'll produce a more graphic, higher contrast look to it. So that's what Dean is doing here, and the compositions are very similar, and I think we'll end up probably showing some up on the screen that you'll be able to see the difference between an acrylic and a watercolor, and you'll see what they look like. Even though they're going for the same subject matter, they'll be interpreting it slightly differently. So also, the physical texture is one of the other big differences with the acrylics. When Dean is working in acrylic, oftentimes, as he explained at the show, he's gessoing over maybe a watercolor that he wanted to make some changes to. And so even with the first stages of the gesso, you're seeing the brush work that's laid down. And so then the paint, when it's stroked across that brush work, it scumbles the paint, it gives it a different effect. So you're seeing physical texture on the surface, where with transparent watercolor, it just sort of lays down into the paper. It's got a different sensibility to it. So those are some of the points that we wanted to touch on. Hopefully that answers some of the questions that came up from the other night. And honestly, I love both of Dean's styles, both the watercolor and acrylic. I think when you look at some of the acrylic work, you're dealing with certain influences that he's talked about, like Richard Diebenkorn, who used like incredible big shapes, really kind of geometric designs that would create the overall design of the work. He's taking a little bit of that, but certainly in his own unique style. So if you haven't had a chance to look at the work again, please go back, check it out on the website, and see if you can see the differences between some of the acrylic and some of the watercolor pieces, and let us know what you think. Once again, we want to thank you all so much for, if you attended the show, we appreciate it so much, and if you weren't able to attend, take a look and see if something catches your eye. Until next time.